Good morning, beautiful. Professor Quiff here, or Three Eye Guy. It's astronomical twilight here just outside London, 12 degrees off the plane, meaning it's not quite at the horizon. It's still dark outside. But we're only about maybe 4 minutes away from civil twilight. That's where the light starts to illuminate the environment so we can actually see things. Astronomical twilight, you can't see anything. Well, I suppose you could see the morning star, which is symbolized, by different mythological beings and gods and that sort of thing. But usually the morning star is Venus, but right now it's Jupiter is the morning star. Venus has fallen, right? So Venus, which is normally the fall, it becomes, it's the morning star, kind of a messenger for the sun that's coming. But according to mythology, hubris takes it down and it becomes fallen. And the only time we see Venus now is in the evening. So this is another installation of, I was going to say Terror Twilight, which is a Pavement album, I believe. But no, this is just Twilight Affirmations. It's just a series where I just try to impart a bit of wisdom, if I can. We're almost at civil twilight, so we get a little bit more light, which will be great. But even though it's still darkness, one of the things that's very noticeable is the birds have adapted or learned, or both, of course. They are already getting active, so we can hear them socializing. I would say socializing, but they're very active. You can probably hear them in the background. Like I said in my previous installment, it's such a perfect time to come out into nature, to listen to the sounds, do breath work, and you really do feel one with nature. It's absolutely fantastic. So if you're fortunate enough to be able to just go outside a big city or go into your backyard or just go anywhere, looking up into the sky, it's like looking into your soul. It's you can imagine like yogis, meditative gurus for centuries have probably done this. You don't necessarily need to be an expert just to look up into the sky and be one with the universe. Well, civil twilight has begun, and you can hear the birds being active, and now they're swimming. So in the tail end of astronomical twilight, you could start to hear them, and a cacophony of sounds was brilliant. But you couldn't really see them. But now, because this is civil twilight, and you can now start to see the light is starting to illuminate. You can read, navigate, and they're now doing quite a bit of swimming on the water, and it's lovely. I'll continue on though where I was before I had to change the film roll. No, I that's another thing. But bad joke. About mishearing the universe or mishearing things. Sometimes that can happen, and it's okay because learning takes time. It's not fast food. It takes time to learn, and that's okay. I mean, you could argue that's what we're here for, to learn. And I'm going to give you an example. When I was a teenager or young person, I really loved the DIY ethic of punk rock. That is, do doing things yourself, making your album cover, or maybe, you know, making your own clothes, recording your own album, doing things yourself. And I think the real message to that was to not belittle or take away from your art or artistic vision. That was the key message to for punk rock artists or alternative artists to have their vision and not have it watered down by some sort of corporate machine, right? Not to be a cog in the machine, as Charlie Chaplin, I suppose, would have said. The problem, I misheard that as a youngster. I misheard it. I heard all that part, but I thought the DIY ethic was for everything. I internalized it. So when I was an academic scientist, I wouldn't ask for help. I would, or in my life in general, and I'll give you a good example. If I needed a research paper, and I was kind of in a more rural part of Canada when I was starting off in science, and if I needed a research paper, I would go to the library. I'd try to find it. I'd try to exhaust everything on my own. I wouldn't really even ask for help from librarians. I would, do it myself, and spent an enormous amount of time trying to find the paper and assuming that, I've just keep sleuthing, trying to find it. If it wasn't at that library, I would get it delivered from another library. It may take 16 weeks back in those days because there was no internet, and I have to do it through document delivery. And I felt quite great about it and quite empowered by it, to be honest. But and it was only really in the rarest of occasions when the actual paper was not published or could not be found. It wasn't in the Smithsonian, or wasn't in one of the 5 reference libraries in the world. There's, wasn't at the British Library, it wasn't at the New York Public Library, that I would actually maybe contact the author reluctantly, because I didn't want to ask for help. Now, I then met a very famous scientist whose intelligence was, well, you couldn't even imagine. But yeah, he asked for help all the time. Got people to read his theories, he promoted his theories to other scientists. He would ask anybody to do anything at any time. It was a completely different model. And I think the important lesson is that I really want to impart is the problem with the DIY ethic, internalizing it, is we need help from our friends. There's many times where we need help from others to produce, to do better work. I'm not saying go to the corporate machine. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying if you need help, it's an act of bravery to ask for help. It's important to ask for help. There's no badge of honor that you did it yourself. That can be destructive. So almost anything, it's almost like I think St. Thomas Aquinas said, anything in moderation is it's not a sin, and I think there's the lesson here in terms of do-it-yourself ethic is brilliant for creativity, but at the same time you may, in times in your life when you're in trouble or your gut says I need to ask for help, then listen to your gut and ask for help, and that really is not a weakness. That is an act of bravery, and you are brave. You are loved, and I want you to know that we are multitudes, we are ocean. Have a lovely day, and you are a champion. Bye-bye. Peace.